Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As to what follows, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He strikes a very beautiful example in the Quran about sincerity when giving Sadaqah in His cause. And so He says, أَيَوَدُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن تَكُونَ لَهُ جَنَّةٌ مِّن نَخِيلٍ وَأَعْنَابٍ. Allah Azza wa Jalla is asking a question. So He says, أَيَوَدُّ أَحَدُكُمْ, does any one of you like that they should own a Jannah? A Jannah is a garden, but this is a different type of Jannah. Jannah is a garden that is so full of trees that they're all intertwined in each other, that if you were to go into it, you get lost. No one will be able to find you. You'll become hidden. That's how many trees there's in it. So that's why it was called Jannah. Jannah comes from the word Jannah, and that means for something to be hidden. So that's why the jinn was called jinn, because he's hidden away from our eyes. And the Majnoon was called Majnoon because his intellect is hidden away from him during that time. The Janeen, which is the fetus, is called that because he's hidden from your eyesight. And similarly, Jannah is called Jannah because when you enter it, you're hidden away from the eyesights of people. It just illustrates and paints that image of how dense and shrubbery it is inside. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is asking, does one of you like to own something like this? Jannatun min nakhilin wa a'nab. And what's inside of this Jannah is trees, palm trees, basically date trees, and a'nab, grape trees. And why does Allah Azza wa Jalla specify these two types of trees in particular? Because these are two types of trees that are found in the paradise itself. So in other words, He's just trying to illustrate how perfect and how beautiful this tree is. It's so similar to the one in the paradise. Right? As Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فِيهَا فَاكِهَةٌ وَنَخْلٌ وَرُمَّانٌ. Speaking about the trees of the paradise. That it has trees, fruits, a lot of trees of that sort. And it has a date tree, and it has a pomegranate, the rumman tree, and so on. So here He's describing one in this world, and why exactly He specifies these two trees for another reason is that because the date tree and the grape tree are the only two trees that you benefit from the whole tree, not only its fruit, but from the leaves as well. And so also the palm tree, its trunk is used, the leaves of the tree are used back in the olden days to make roofs for houses, and then the date is used. And so also the grape tree, the grape is used, then it makes sultanas, then you have the leaves of the tree and so on. Many other things, and they use its the branches that actually come out, but they use them as strings to wrap other things. This is for the grape tree. Anyway, they were specifically mentioned because of everything can be benefited from these trees. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, does one of you like to own a Jannah that contains trees of date trees, and it has in it grape trees, نخيل وأعناب تجري من تحتها الأنهار. And another feature also added into this Jannah that you'd like to own is that it has a river underneath these gardens, a river flows. له فيها من كل الثمرات. And you basically own in it every single type of fruit and vegetable. Right? له فيها من كل الثمرات. Now Allah Azza wa Jal says, for a person that owns such a thing, He says, وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ. And so after a long time that he spent building this garden, this forest of his, أَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ. This man reaches or gets into old age. The waw in the Arabic language indicates a time between two things. In other words, Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us that this man put a lot of effort in creating and in planting such a garden, and now he's reached old age. وَأَصَابَهُ الْكِبَرُ. And on top of this, وَلَهُ ذُرِّيَّةٌ ضُعَفَاء. And he's reached old age, and he got married, and he has children, but his children are very sick. They're weak. Well, they're sort of disabled, and they're all sick. وَلَهُ ذُرِّيَّةٌ ضُعَفَاء. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, فَأَصَابَهَا إِعْصَارٌ فِيهِ نَارٌ فَاحْتَرَقَتْ. And all of a sudden, this fa indicates to something that all of a sudden happens. Unexpected, you never expected this. An i'sar happened. An i'sar is a tornado. And this i'sar didn't come by itself to your garden, But inside of it is a nar. There's a fire inside of it, which recently, in 2010, it occurred, and it's known as a fire tornado. It's a tornado that goes around. Of course, they call it the fire world, they call it the fire devil, the fire tornado, and it was recently discovered in 2010. And subhanAllah, Allah Azza wa Jalla has already spoken about a tornado that a fire happens inside of it. It spins and fire goes for about 100 meters on top. You can watch it. There's a few clips on it. It happened in Mexico, and it happened here in 2013 in Canberra. And Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, أصابها إعصار فيه نار فاحترقت. This fire tornado came all of a sudden from nowhere. This man never expected it, and it burnt his garden. فاحترقت means also instantly it burnt the garden. Nothing was left. And then Allah Azza wa Jal says, كذلك يبين الله لكم الآيات لعلكم تتفكرون. This is how Allah Azza wa Jal gives you His miraculous signs, His ayat, so that you may reflect upon it. And what does this example mean, and what do we learn from it? Allah Azza wa Jal, He sets forth in this example an example of a person that does good in this life, right? He does good in this life, and he builds and builds and builds for himself hasanat, and he just keeps compiling these hasanat. That's symbolized in the parable of a person owning this garden. And it's so dense, this garden. There's trees, there's fruits, there's vegetables, there's rivers, there's everything in this garden. And this is symbolizing his good deeds. When he reached old age and he has disabled, weak children, how desperate is he now in need of this garden? This is the time now he needs the garden, and he's relying on the garden. He's in old age, and all his life he's been planting this garden and taking care of it for now. Now he needs to use it, and his children are sick, they can't do anything. So he needs to feed off it in this time, and he needs to also feed his children. So this is the most desperate time this man is in need of his garden. What happens to it? It gets burnt. Allah sends a tornado and He destroys it. So when he is in most need of his good deeds, Allah Azza wa Jal takes it away from him. This is the example of someone that gives sadaqah fi sabilillah, because of course before it there were ayat of someone giving sadaqah. And this is the example of someone gives it only to show off, not sincerely for Allah Azza wa Jal's sake. In reality, what you actually did is you planted good. Right? If I was to donate $1 million towards a masjid, I planted good in this life. There's no problem. People will benefit from that. But would I benefit from it? Allah is saying no. Because you come on the Day of Judgment, when now you're in most desperate need for your hasanat, what happens to it? It's gone. Allah Azza wa Jal destroys it for you. It's burnt. So subhanAllah, how the example is given that Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, even if you were to give a sadaqah for other than Allah's sake, you've planted good in this life. People will benefit from it. But when you are in most need of your sadaqah, when you reach old age, now you have to feed off your garden. And not only you, you're even more desperate because you have children who barely can't move, they can't do anything. They can't plant something like what you had. So now they're also in desperate need. Where are you going to get food and provision for them now, since this garden is burnt? So Allah Azza wa Jal, He teaches He teaches this lesson of giving sadaqat sincerely for His sake. Otherwise your situation will be exactly like someone that owned a garden, and when he was in desperate need of it, it was gone. And this is the example of you've accumulated so much hasanat in your life. And when do you need your hasanat? You don't need them here. When do you need them? On the Day of Judgment. That's when you need it. That's when you're in most desperate need of it. Because with that, before Allah Azza wa Jal, this is what will dictate where you're going, towards Jannah or towards the paradise. Of course, added with Allah Azza wa Jal's mercy if you end up in the paradise. So when you're in most desperate need of your good deeds, they're finished. فَاحْتَرَقَتْ, they're all gone. And Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about people like this. وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. When Allah spoke about the hypocrites, He said that they do have actions. He said they come forth on the Day of Judgment with their good deeds, and Allah Azza wa Jal turns it into haba'an manthura, dust that is blown away. If you had dust on your hand, all you do is, and there is nothing remaining there. So this is exactly what will happen to someone that gives for other than Allah's sake. Understand that yes, you did plant good in this life, but when you most desperately need it, and that is over there, when it's finished, it's burnt. And subhanAllah, what I'm doing now is collecting some sort of videos, and inshallah ta'ala I'm going to present it upstairs in Greenacre Musallah. So once I do this, I'll tell you inshallah, so you can come down and see exactly how Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about this, and subhanAllah how it happens. And the most incredible thing I found with this when following the videos is that it's a tornado that has a fire inside of it. You'd expect this to happen in the desert or something. It only happens in places where there is greenery. It only happens in forests. And so every clip that I've seen so far, a tornado, within it a fire, is happening close to forests. It's not happening in the desert. And the ayah spoke about a tornado, within it a fire. He spoke about it happening in Jannat tajri min tahtiha al-anhar. And subhanAllah, this clip, all around is green, and there's a river, and the fire tornado is happening on the river itself. Subhanallah, how the Quran was very precise in speaking about something like this. And this thing only happens on Jannat also. And subhanAllah, how it comes together. Inshallah, I will inform you when I collect the videos together and make a presentation for it. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us people of the Quran, people who benefit from the reminders of the Quran. إنه ولي ذلك والقادر عليه. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.